That's probably my biggest thing that I'm most grateful for, is being able to have a chance to have my daughter back in my life. I had everything that you could ever ask for from the time I was in elementary school all the way up to college. I had boats, I had, jet skis, I had four-wheel drives, I had, nice cars, I had everything. But because of my methamphetamine use, I lost everything that I ever had. At the age of 14, I was in an Italian Catholic family, and I was going to Catholic schools, and one thing led to another, and I had my daughter at the age of 14 as a freshman. I was a young child, didn't know how to raise a daughter, and I started getting involved with drugs and alcohol, trying to follow the crowd with peer pressure. In 1998, I was engaged to a woman, and she was a methamphetamine dealer. I delivered her to go do a drug deal, and she was circled around the corner, came around the block to pick her up, and she was nowhere to be seen. 3 days later, they found her body in a ditch, stabbed, beaten, strangled, left for dead behind a police department, actually. That kind of took away everything that I had to do with God. I separated myself from God, I separated myself from family, from people. I pretty much hit a really rock bottom low, and I ended up in trouble with the criminal justice system. I ended up going to jail, and in 2001, as my addiction pretty much took me to nowhere, I ended up with looking at either 16 years in prison or doing another program. So I chose to do this other program. However, they sent me to New York, and back up a little bit, I was also involved in college, and I went through fire. My dad was a firefighter, my mom worked for the sheriff's department, and I became a volunteer firefighter. But however, in 2001, I was 3 blocks away when the Twin Towers were hit. So I saw all the devastation. I saw the death, the destruction of everything that had happened that day, and it always haunted with me. So in 2008, I came back home to Monterey, California, and I had a lot of hatred and a lot of anger and a lot of ignorance. And I had a neighbor, and that neighbor was from Pakistan, and I had threatened that neighbor when they had made plans to build the mosque on Ground Zero on 9/11. He thought it was fun, he thought it was great, and because of my meth addiction and being spun at the time on meth, I threatened him and his family, and I was sentenced to prison for a 7-year prison term. During my whole stay in prison, I stayed away from drugs, I stayed away from alcohol, I stayed away from all the negative elements that you normally get accustomed to being institutionalized. I got out of prison, and I met who was soon to be my wife. She was a school teacher. She kept me off of drugs. She helped me get involved in a Pentecostal church at the time. And about 1.5 years into our marriage, I started bartending again. And things kind of went downhill from that point. I started using meth again, and she wasn't having it. She knew that I was a better person than what I was doing. I was pretty much slowly killing myself. So she had found me a program. I went to it, and we had separated at the time, and in the program I decided that I wasn't done and I was still continuing to use. And I ended up getting kicked out of that program in October of last year. So I ended up with nowhere to go, basically living on different people's couches, bouncing around. And somebody had told me about the Bay Area Rescue Mission, and when I started the program, when I got involved back in the culinary arts program, I realized that there was going to be a different future for me. This is like no other place that I have ever seen. I have been to a lot of programs, but the Bay Area Rescue Mission is doing something for the greater good. They're doing something for the community. The Bay Area Rescue Mission is not just a rescue mission, it's not just a soup kitchen. They're changing people's lives, and the biggest impact is that it got me clean and sober and has given me a new lease on life.